Now let's get into MicroPoly creation specifically. And we've touched on it just a tiny bit as we were going through and just adding custom ones out of here, like our Phillips head screw that we did. But just to start over with basics, let's drag out a Polymesh 3D and go into edit mode. Let's go ahead and switch this over. I'm going to turn on the floor, and like we did last, I'm going to turn on the Z floor direction so we can see a representation of that cube, that square we want to fit in. To see that better, let's go in here to draw, take that grid size, set that to 1, and basically this grid size right here is what we want to stay within for MicroPoly to work correctly. Let's actually go in here to draw, scroll down until you see frame opacity and crank that up so you can see that a lot better. So now if we go down here, all the way down to initialize, and we take this initialize res down to 1 and do QGrid, that's going to fill up that entire back plane here with the perfect grid size of an object. Now if this was ever too small, or you go through here and you like rotate this, which we're going to do in a second, and it's off, a real easy way to get it back and working correctly is going here to deformation, unify, and it's going to stick it perfectly within that grid unit. One more time, it's going to take the bounding box and try to force it into that grid unit. So just something to keep in mind. So if you're familiar with my demos on ArtStation, we actually went through and did like a basketball net. And if you watch the creation of this, I tried to use some of their pre-existing MicroPoly, but it didn't work out that well because they weren't tied, they weren't stuck together, so they all wanted to just untie themselves. So I had to go through here and do kind of a custom one, and I'll walk you through that process. It'll kind of get you acclimated to that environment here. So let's just make a quick net, and you know what? I'll probably throw together a playlist or put it up on Gumroad, just all my demos. I'll just walk through them real quick. But this will be easy. Let's go out of edit mode. Let's hit Control N. Let's grab a cylinder 3D, drag it out of our canvas. Go into edit mode here, make a Polymesh 3D. Let's turn on Polyframe. We can turn off the floor for now. Again, I'm going to go down here like we've done a couple times in this playlist. We're going to go to Polygroups, Group by Normals. Control-Shift tap this green one here, and if you want to, make sure you're in Select Rectangle. Geometry, Modify Topology, Delete Hidden, or you can just go to your custom menu you've made by now, I'm sure, and just hit Delete Hidden out of there. Now I kind of wanted a specific shape in here. You can actually go in here to Edge Loop. If you didn't set it up with Initialize initially, you can go in here to Edge Loop and just say Delete Loops, and that'll get rid of any extraneous loops. We can go through here and we can say Insert Single Poly Loop. We'll put one right through here. And now I'm going to go use my ZModeler brush. We'll use some new functionality here. We're going to hover over, so ZModeler brush, BZM, hover over an edge, hold down spacebar, do Insert Single Edge Loop, sorry about that. And then we can also go in here to Transpose Edge Loop Complete. We can click that. I'm going to hold down Alt and say Go to Unmesh Mesh Center. Actually, you don't even need to hold down Alt, just touch that button right there. And we can scale this in. Same thing for this one. Now, if I want to go and select this edge, just tap off and then tap that one. Again, go to Unmesh Mesh Center, scale this one in. This can be the start of our net. Now, this is a little bit more resolution than we needed, but that's okay. We're going to go in here, hover over this edge with our ZModeler brush, go to Insert, Multiple Edge Loops. Let's turn on Interactive Elevation, because what we can do is while we're pulling in, we can kind of just shrink that in a little bit. And also, let's go to make sure Interactive Resolution is turned on and Interactive Elevation is turned on. So we can drag up and drag in and kind of just get a nice fall off through here. And you know what, just for the hell of it, let's go in here to Insert Multiple Edge Loops, and we'll just go ahead and add some more divisions in here. It's not a perfect basketball net, but I think you'll get the idea. So we'll hit Control W, make it all one poly group. I'm going to switch the material over so we can see it a little bit better. We're going to go in here to Geometry. You can hold down Shift and close down some of these menus to kind of simplify this. Go in here to Dynamic Subdivision. We'll turn Smooth Subdiv down to 0. Let's go in here to turn MicroPoly on, and we can select some of these net options. What I ended up going for that was kind of the closest was this vortex down here. So that gave me kind of a woven net feel, and it may not look like it, but if I go through here and I hit Apply, then I hit D for Dynamic again, turn off MicroPoly, and turn Smooth Subdiv up to 2, you can start seeing like, oh, okay, yeah, this is kind of like a woven net. Nice. So let's hit Control Z a couple times so we're back to our MicroPoly mode. Again, just this low-res geometry driving this instance geometry. In order, we can actually go through here and do ZModeler to kind of bridge these gaps, because right now they're just open holes, and these things need to be woven together. They're going to be looped over. So what we can do is we can hit Apply to make this real geometry. So now when I hover over this with my ZModeler brush, you can hover over an edge and you can say Bridge two holes. You can click on this one here. And if it's a little bit hard to see, turn on polyframe. You can click on this edge here and then this edge here, and you can actually just bridge those two holes over like that. Now, that's a lot of work to do this on this entire thing, but since we put this cylinder right in the middle, and if we go back to that default cylinder, and we go back down here to that initialize, we just kept that at 32. So a cool thing we can do, if you go back to our basketball net, we can go up here to transform, activate symmetry in the Y direction, so Y is up and down. We can go in here to turn on radial count, and we'll type in 32 for this. So now we can work radially around this. So if we go through here and we bridge one of these, it's going to bridge all the rest of them all at once. And we can go down here to the bottom, and we can say bridge this one to this one. I can go ahead and bridge all those. So now, like we did before, instead of going to dynamic, we can just go through here. We can hit switch back to startup material here, Control D and Control D again, and now we got a really nice weave through here, and they're all connected. So let's do Control Z to undo all those. Of course, we know that if we mask the top of these and invert that mask, and then we run like we have our dynamics menu over here, turn off our collision volume, we have gravity turned on, run the simulation, all of these are going to untie. Because again, they're just sitting on top of each other. So in fact, we can actually go up here to self-collision and we can kind of push those out. We can even go in here to inflate. And you can see they kind of just spread away from each other here and give you that result. Still cool. It's still really neat. And you still can go through here like a brush cloth hook and go through here and kind of move this geometry around as a cloth. And you can do it in radial symmetry as well, which is kind of neat. But not really a basketball net. So let's undo back to where we had our original geometry here. And again, this just has MicroPoly turned on, but we need to swap this MicroPoly out. It's not working.